Hello and welcome back to Friday Minis. Dictionaries, also known as associative arrays in certain programming languages or even objects. Now, these, if you're new to programming, can be a little bit daunting. They look a lot like their cousin, the array, but they don't really work the same way. So what are they and how do we actually use them? Now, of course, the actual specifics of how you would write code to do that would depend on your respective programming language, but the concept on its own doesn't change all that much. So today, let's try and better understand this. It's a very powerful tool that is present in many programming languages, and it's worth knowing because it can make your life easier in many contexts. Before we can start with dictionaries, you need to have a good understanding of how arrays work. Now, arrays, also known as lists in certain programming languages, even though they're not strictly the same, they are a collection of data. You use one variable name and you can store a set of items. You can refer to the individual items by their position, and using that you can either read out a particular item or overwrite it with new information. Certain programming languages even let you add on to the end of an array to make it larger. So that's the general idea. Right, you have to understand the concept of a collection of items and finding things by position. A dictionary is very much similar. Here's the deal, you also have one variable name, it's also a collection of items. But now, instead of referring to things by their position, which in many programming languages you no longer have the ability to do so for a dictionary, instead, you would basically give every item in there a tag name, also known as a key. You'll use a key to find something within the dictionary instead of using a position. The rest is generally the same. If you have the right key, you'll be able to find the corresponding value. And from there, you can either read it out or again, overwrite it with a new value. That's the general idea. For an array, you have index value pairings, right? And the index is sequential. For a dictionary, you have key value pairings instead. We don't really care what order the keys were inserted in or what order they are within the data structure itself. All we know is that you give the right key, you'll get the right value. That's all. Dictionaries can be useful when you're representing complex data structures that have a certain meaning. Now, just imagine a simple data structure that holds some information about a product. If you were to use an array to hold this information, well, you would have to somehow memorize what the 0th position is, what the first position is, what the second position is, and so on. However, if you're using something like a dictionary, it makes a lot of sense right off the bat. The key already describes what you expect to find in the value. This mapping becomes explicit as opposed to having to look up a separate index before you know what to look for. That is why when you're interacting with more complex data structures, dictionaries are used very often, and for a good reason. So, being familiar with how dictionaries work will help you greatly, and hopefully this video has helped you in that regard. That's all there is for this episode of Friday Minis. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, you're watching 0612TV with NERDfirst.net. Thank you very much for watching. If you like my work and are feeling generous, you can shoot me a one-time donation on PayPal or sign up for a recurring one on Patreon. Of course, you can simply like, comment, and subscribe. You know the deal. For more videos, links to my channel and a related playlist are on screen. Thank you for your support.